Hey, good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining me in the Jeep Solid Garage. I really appreciate you being here. So today we're going to be doing a compression test on the engine of a vehicle, and this is going to tell us a lot about the wear of the engine. And it'll tell us if we have any issues with the pistons, the valves, even the head gasket. Let's take a look at that.
So apparently this isn't good enough for Dale. He's over here like, whoa.
See, the problem is you're talking too much. Now on this Project 92 YJ, I already have the intake manifold, exhaust manifold, the fuel rail, all that disconnected. As you can see, the valve cover is off, but we can still do a compression test. And so what is a compression test? A compression test tells us how much force is generated in the cylinder when the piston goes up and creates that pressure in there. If there's any leaks through the valve or around the piston rings or anything, it's going to reduce that pressure, thus reducing your horsepower. And doing a compression test is a super easy process, and it'll really tell us a lot about the wear on the engine. So I made this real quick illustration just to kind of show you what I'm looking at. So here we have the intake valve opening up, letting fuel come into the cylinder as the piston goes down. Then the cylinder goes back up, compressing the fuel and air mixture before the spark plug ignites it, causing the power stroke, forcing the piston back down. Then after all the fuel's burned, the piston goes back up, forcing all the exhaust out the exhaust port. So having a good understanding of this process will help us understand what we're looking for in the compression test. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be careful, because you're going to be working around moving parts and the engine's going to be hot. Yes, you want to warm it up to normal operating temperature because you just want everything under optimal conditions for doing this test. You'll get the most consistent results then. And next we're going to remove all the spark plug boots off of the spark plugs, and we're going to label them. Be sure to label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you have a 6-cylinder. Keep them in order, be sure to get them back in the same spot. Now you have these spark plug wires just kind of strewn all about. Go ahead and remove this center coil wire right here to prevent sparks from shooting down your wires here. This could be an issue with, like if you have any fuel around, you don't want to get shocked, but also could start a fire. So remove this one and you'll be good to go. Next we're going to go along and remove all the spark plugs. Before we do that though, we're going to be sure to clean out the recesses, those little pits down in there, because the last thing we want is any rocks, debris, sand, oil, gunk like that to fall down into our engine, right onto our pistons. Alright, let's remove the spark plugs. Did you see my last video with the egg carton trick? You want to keep your spark plugs in order so you can get them back in the exact same spot. Egg carton, really handy. Now over here on this side, you got your intake manifold. You don't have to take it off. Mine's disassembled from another video. Let's see if I can set it in place. There we go. So normally your intake manifold is attached like that, and your fuel lines are attached to your fuel rail right here. Bloop, bloop. There we go. So as we do this test though, we don't want fuel shooting out into the cylinders or anything right now because, I don't know, you can have an explosion, a fire, I don't know, it could be exciting. But you want to disassemble, or not disassemble, you want to disable the fuel system so you don't have fuel going into the cylinders while you're doing this test. So to do that, we're going to pop the fuse out to the fuel pump, prevent any fuel from going into the system. But let me take this back off for a second. And like I said, we can still do this compression test just fine, even with my intake and exhaust manifold removed. These are part of a different video. So over here by the battery, we've got this fuse box here, and let's see, fuel pump right there. That's this fuse right here. Fuel pump's disabled. Ah. Alright, now for the fun part. I have this really cool compression test kit here. I'll be sure to include a link in the description below where you can find a nice set like this that really will tell you a lot about your car, so it's a really good thing to have. Now we're going to take the connector that's the same size as the spark plug and just thread it into the first cylinder here. Alright, we got that threaded into cylinder 1 there. We're just going to hook our gauge up, and we're ready to go. Now for this next part, you really need a buddy to help you out. What they're going to do, they're going to sit in the cab, and you're going to have them depress the accelerator all the way. Now Dale, why are you having them depress the accelerator? You have the fuel system disabled, it's not going to do anything. Well actually, you want to make sure that the valves are getting as much oxygen, as much airflow. You don't want to impede the airflow at all, because you want the most consistent result you can possibly have. So you want that throttle opened up all the way, just so air can pass in real freely. Then you're going to have your helper start the car. Well, it's not going to start. They're going to turn the engine over, and they're going to turn it over 6 or 8 times. And what you're watching for is that needle on that gauge. It's going to climb a little bit each time until it stops climbing anymore. It's going to turn over between 6 to 10 times before you reach that top pressure. Let's give it a go. All right, go ahead. Okay. There's the result of our first test on cylinder 1. It looks like about 110 pounds. On that last one, I noticed about the 6th time it turned over, we were at the top pressure. So now there's a little bleeder valve on here. We're going to push that, lets all the pressure out. We're going to do it again. We're going to repeat this test twice on all the cylinders. All right, you ready? Let me get a close-up of this. Okay, go ahead. Okay. You ready?
Doing it again?
Yep. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. So we've got our results here on a 6-cylinder engine, and all of these are pretty close to each other, but they're all a bit low. A 6-cylinder Jeep like this, you want the pressures up at like 120 to 150 range. So now we got to think, why are these low? It's either leaking valve, leaking around the piston, or actually leaking through the head gasket. So there's another test we can do that'll give us some more information. It's called a wet compression test. So doing a wet compression test will actually tell us a lot more. It'll give us some information about the piston rings if that's part of the issue. But I have to call it a day here. I've been working on this, filming, it just takes a long time. So I gotta call it quits for today, and I actually have to work tomorrow, so I'm not gonna get back to this till the day after that. I'll try to get this video up real soon. Well, if you're watching it, it's up, yay! But I'll try to get this posted real soon here so we can go through how to do the compression test. And in the link in the description below, I'll put a follow-up down there of how to do the wet compression test, and that'll give us some more information on why some of your numbers could be low. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Process. So. Then you're gonna have your not talking, Thanks for joining me.